Welcome to Chasing Curiosity TV. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. They once said we belonged. Now, the silence is heavier than words. Across Europe, Filipinos, nurses, caregivers, builders, who helped rebuild societies are now facing a quiet exodus as policies shift and doors close. This is a story of broken promises and the fight for a place to call home. In the UK, foreign carers were once hailed as heroes, especially during the pandemic. When the world shut down and fear gripped the nation, it was these carers, many from overseas, who stepped forward, risking their own health to care for the most vulnerable. Their dedication was celebrated on the news, in the streets, and in the hearts of the families they helped. Over 220,000, many from the Philippines, answered the call, building lives and communities. They didn't just fill jobs, they became neighbors, friends, and vital members of British society. Their children grew up here, learned new accents, and made lifelong friends. Filipino communities blossomed, bringing their culture, food, and warmth to towns across the UK. But now, the government is ending the fast-track visa scheme. The very doors that were opened in gratitude are quietly closing, leaving thousands in a state of anxiety and confusion. The message is clear: thank you for your service, but now prepare to leave. For many, this feels like a sudden eviction from the lives they've painstakingly built. For people like Anna in Manchester, it means uprooting children who know no other home, or facing an uncertain future where every plan is on hold. The fear of separation, of starting over, hangs heavy in the air. This isn't just about jobs, it's about lives built and now threatened. It's about families who have invested years, hopes, and dreams into a country that now seems to be turning its back on them. The government talks numbers, but not heartbreak. They debate statistics and quotas, but rarely mention the human cost, the anxiety, the sleepless nights, the sense of betrayal felt by those who once felt so welcome. Empty care homes, families in limbo, and a community betrayed. The care sector, already stretched thin, now faces losing the very people who kept it afloat during its darkest days. The silence from leaders is deafening. There are no public reassurances, no clear plans for those left in limbo, just uncertainty and fear. No reassurances, no plan, just a looming deadline. Every day the clock ticks closer to a future that feels more unstable and less welcoming. The UK needed them in crisis. Now, it's ready to move on. But for the carers and their families, moving on isn't so simple. Their roots are deep, their ties strong. For thousands, moving on isn't an option. Their lives, their children's futures, and their sense of belonging are all at stake. They stand on a cliff's edge, the ground crumbling beneath them, uncertain, anxious, and hoping for a lifeline that may never come. In Italy, the government steps up to the podium, announcing a new wave of visas for caregivers. On the surface, it's a gesture of openness, a signal that the country is ready to welcome migrants who are willing to fill essential roles. Politicians speak of compassion and necessity, painting a picture of a nation that values the contributions of foreign workers. Yet, beneath the surface, Filipinos living in Rome, Milan, and Naples sense a different reality. In their daily lives, there's a growing feeling of unease, a quiet tension that lingers in the air. They gather in small groups, sharing stories of uncertainty and worry, wondering what the future holds for them and their families. Officially, the doors to Italy appear open. But unofficially, scrutiny and suspicion are on the rise. Every visit to the immigration office feels like a test, with long lines and anxious faces waiting for answers that may never come. Renewing a residence permit, once a routine task, has become fraught with risk. A single missed deadline or misplaced document could mean losing everything: your job, your home, your right to stay. The stakes have never felt higher. Italy's aging population depends on migrant labor, especially caregivers from the Philippines. Yet, at the same time, anti-immigrant sentiment is rising, with protests and heated debates echoing through the streets and parliament halls. On paper, the policies seem progressive and fair, but in reality, many migrants find themselves trapped in a state of limbo, living with constant anxiety about their status and future. Filipinos feel both essential and expendable, invited to care for Italy's elderly, yet watched and monitored at every turn. Their presence is needed, but their place in society remains uncertain. The promise of new visas brings little comfort to those already living in fear. For many, the fear of being uprooted overshadows any hope the new policies might offer. Life for these families is fragile, a delicate balance, always just one bureaucratic setback away from collapse. Parents comfort their children, trying to shield them from the uncertainty that shapes their daily lives. In Italy, the welcome mat is always at risk of being pulled out from under their feet. For many migrants, the sense of belonging is as fleeting as the closing doors of the immigration office at the end of the day. Switzerland's pilot program for Filipino nurses seemed like a win-win. It was a strategic initiative designed to address the pressing shortage of healthcare professionals in the country. Filipino nurses, known for their dedication and expertise, were welcomed with open arms to fill these critical roles. Skilled professionals filled critical gaps, learned languages, and integrated. They adapted quickly, mastering the local dialects and embracing the cultural nuances of Swiss life, making significant contributions to the healthcare system. But the program was always temporary, no path to residency, no promise of a future. The expiration date on their work permits loomed large, a constant reminder of their transient status. These nurses were valued for their skills, not as future citizens. Their contributions were acknowledged, yet the possibility of becoming a permanent part of the community was never on the table. Once contracts end, so does their welcome. The end of their tenure meant packing up their lives and saying goodbye to colleagues and friends. It's a message: you're needed, but not wanted long-term. The system's message was clear. Their presence was a temporary necessity, not a permanent invitation. Even the best and brightest are treated as temporary fixes. Despite their hard work and dedication, the lack of a long-term future weighed heavily on their minds. The system values utility over humanity. Efficiency and productivity were prioritized over personal aspirations and dreams. For Filipino professionals, dreams of building a life are dashed by a ticking clock. The countdown to their departure overshadowed their daily lives, leaving little room for hope. In Switzerland, the welcome is just a loan, never a home. The picturesque landscapes and serene environment were a temporary backdrop to their fleeting journey, not a permanent setting for their future. Denmark is a study in contradictions. The government signs labor deals with the Philippines, recruiting healthcare workers, yet political rhetoric grows harsher and visa renewals get tougher. Filipinos in Denmark live with constant uncertainty, invited in but always under scrutiny. Stricter processes, more questions, and a sense of always having to prove their worth. The real message: Denmark wants the labor, not the people. Migrants navigate a landscape of shifting rules and rising anxiety. They live in the gap between economic need and political fear. It's a precarious place to call home. The Netherlands, once a symbol of tolerance, is changing fast. The government aims to deter migrants, making life harder for all, including Filipinos. Increased police checks and paperwork scrutiny create fear and insecurity. Family reunification is harder. Income requirements rise, permits shorten. The message: don't get too comfortable. Filipinos who contributed for years now feel betrayed. The open society they knew is fading, replaced by suspicion. Today's focus is asylum seekers, but tomorrow it could be anyone. When the welcome mat is rolled up, everyone is at risk. For many, the Netherlands no longer feels like home. Spain, with deep Filipino ties, is taking a hard line. New rules mean undocumented migrants face automatic deportation, no second chances. Even minor paperwork errors can have catastrophic consequences. Administrative leniency is gone, fear is constant. Filipinos in domestic and hospitality work are especially vulnerable. Delays, lost documents, or employer mistakes can end lives built over years. People avoid doctors, reporting crimes, or standing up for rights. The system punishes paperwork, not people. Zero tolerance is the new message, and the human cost is immense. In Spain, a single document can decide your fate. Norway, once open, is reintroducing border checks. For Filipinos, this means more scrutiny and suspicion, even for short trips. The shift is psychological as much as physical. Openness replaced by guardedness. Political talk centers on Norwegian values and cultural preservation. Filipinos, though not the direct target, are caught in the net. Contributions matter less as the narrative shifts to security. Anxiety grows as new regulations loom. The space for migrants in Norway is shrinking, one border check at a time. Sweden, once a humanitarian leader, is closing doors. Migrants can no longer switch from asylum to work permits without leaving the country. Filipinos who built lives must now abandon everything and reapply from abroad. The system is now a revolving door. Roots are shallow, security is gone. Even with jobs and community ties, a bureaucratic change can uproot families. The policy is disruptive and dehumanizing. Sweden's soul is shifting from welcome to removal. For Filipinos, the fear is this is just the beginning. The revolving door only spins faster. In Belgium, tough new migration rules signal a closing door. The government stopped sheltering single male asylum seekers, citing capacity. This creates a hostile climate for all migrants, including Filipinos. Family reunification is getting harder, requirements stricter. Years of contribution feel at risk of being erased by new laws. The end of emergency shelters is symbolic. Belgium is overwhelmed and retreating. Filipinos fear what comes next as support systems crumble. In the EU's heart, the future for migrants is more scrutiny, less security. France's new immigration law makes life harder for migrants at every turn. Visa renewals are tougher, with more power to deny for vague reasons. Stricter language requirements become barriers, not bridges. Family reunification is harder, quotas are set. The message France for the French. Universal ideals are shrinking, replaced by exclusion. Filipinos face a system designed to push them out, slowly, legally, relentlessly. The country they embraced is now putting up walls. Behind every lost visa is a broken dream. Europe's new migration rules tear apart families and futures. We've seen a continent turning inward, breaking promises to those it once called essential. This isn't just a Filipino issue, it's a human one. If this story resonates, share it, speak out, and let your voice be heard. The more we talk, the harder it is for silence to win. Migration is about belonging, identity, and the fight to hold on to home.